So kids are heading back to school and we don't have as much time on our hands because of all of the e-learning going on.
That's right. And you don't want them loaded up with all that sugary crap either.
Yeah, so today we're gonna go over a easy snack that you can make at home. So today we're gonna be making the no-bake superfood granola bars. And I found this recipe by chance because I actually was told by my doctor I needed to have more nuts in my diet because I'm eating too much animal byproduct. I like meat, whatever.
Good for you.
So that's how I discovered this one. And not only does I love it, my husband loves it because he usually takes them from me in the morning anyway. And the kids love it. I found that out very easily because it has a little bit of chocolate in it and it's sweet. So the kids are obsessed with having these at least once a day. So we're going to show you how to make those granola bars.
Yay!
So
anything food related is great for me.
So we already pre-measured out the 2 cups of oats, half a cup of pumpkin seeds, and a 1/4 cup of golden flax seeds. And we're gonna toast these in the oven at 350 for about 10 minutes. Okay, so I have that in the oven. And one of the things I kind of venture out on the recipe a little bit because it tells you how to do things in the directions. Well, I don't follow the directions all that well. It says to do this part like the last, and I want it cool, so I usually do it at the same time the oats are baking. I do this because you have to warm up all of the honey and the coconut oil. So we use runny honey. I think it was how much?
5.3 ounces of runny honey.
Yes.
That's what the thing called for.
And then it was 3.5 ounces of coconut oil or butter. I use coconut oil.
We haven't tried the butter yet, but
yeah.
I'd imagine they both taste great anyways, so.
Exactly. And then one of the things it also calls for is brown sugar. I'm actually using coconut golden sugar?
Yeah,
how do you say that?
Just the brown coconut sugar.
Yeah, and I actually went ahead and I'm not adding as much as the recipe calls for. I'm actually adding a little less because the recipe actually calls for 5.3 ounces and I'm only doing 3 ounces just because I do already think that it's pretty sweet with the honey. So I don't add all of that. That's just me though.
Another alternative you can use, we had spoken about this in a previous episode. They have golden monk fruit as well. So you can use that if you don't want it as crazy
so
sweet.
I'm gonna put this on low. And while that melts and gets everything. So we'll be back in a minute when all of that is melted and the oats are baked.
And we're back. While we were waiting,
We both got a drink. So
we are drinking buddies, so.
Yeah. So now that the honey, coconut oil, and the coconut sugar have finished boiling, I let it cool just a little bit, and then you just add the teaspoon of cinnamon and then 1/4 of a teaspoon of salt, and then we'll mix all of that stuff together. And I'm actually gonna have Joan finish mixing that, and then I'm gonna empty out the oats, the pumpkin seeds, and the linseeds or flax seeds in the bowl.
Apparently, flax seeds are also called linseeds.
Yes.
I did not know that. So when you look at the recipe, you're like, what are linseeds?
Yeah, I was driving. I went through 3 or 4 different stores because I didn't bother Googling because I thought, oh, I should know what that is. You know, that type thing. And I couldn't figure it out. I was getting frustrated and I was actually on the phone with my mom of all people, and I'm like, hey, I was like, I can't find these anywhere. This is ridiculous. And I was like, I need to Google it. And she was like, they're flax seeds. And I was like, what? So after I got off the phone with her, I Googled it, and yeah, they are. So that was a moment for me. So yeah, that was fun. All right, so my oats, pumpkin seeds, and linseeds or flax seeds are all cooled off. So now we're gonna go ahead and add the 2 cups of puff brown rice cereal. Joan was talking about there might be an alternative, maybe?
Yeah, there might be, but I don't remember what it was. So.
Okay. It works, no worries. Then
when I figure that out, I will post that in the comments.
Then we've got half a cup of raw whole almonds, and this can be substitute for whatever whole nuts that you want to go ahead and use. You can use pecans, walnuts, cashews, whatever you want to do to change it up. This is just the recipe, and I like almonds, so I just ended up putting that in. Then I've got my drink over here. So then we also have a fourth of a cup of the chia seeds. We're gonna add that in. And then this also calls for wolfberries or goji berries, whichever one you want to call. These are just, I like calling them wolfberries. They're more fun.
Yeah.
But it calls for a fourth of a cup of those, but I actually add just a little more because I kind of need the nutrients.
Because why not?
Exactly. So I add those in, and these actually stay bright red. If you see how red they stay bright red while they're in the bar. So I kind of like having that color in there. And then
it tastes pretty good.
Yeah, I like them too. My kids don't like them by themselves because they say they're too bitter, even though I love the flavor. So then the next two things I'm doing is a half a cup of dried cranberries and then a half cup of diced or chopped apricots. That way we have those in there.
You can substitute, you can really substitute for any type of fruit.
Yep.
Like any type of dried fruit you'd want. It really doesn't matter. If you like dried blueberries or dried whatever, you can put whatever you want because, I mean, really, it's yours.
Exactly. You can experiment to whatever. Like my son loves raisins, so every once in a while I'll do, instead of cranberries, I'll do raisins, just because he likes raisins. Me, not so much. So those are his.
And there are some berries or some dried fruit that you can get, like dried apples and dried, pineapples or whatever. They have different sugar content too. So if you're worried about sugar content, which, I mean, at this point,
yeah, they taste really good.
They taste good, but you can use whatever type of fruit. There's a ton of options. You really don't have to stick with just this. You can experiment with whatever taste you like, but this just happens to be the recipe. So
exactly, and it's the original recipe is one of my favorites to eat. Not so much because my husband doesn't like the goji berries, but he'll still go ahead and eat them because he likes cinnamon, and there's cinnamon.
But they're so full of antioxidants.
Yes, they are. All right, so we can pour that in, and we're gonna mix everything together. So the mixture is still going to be warm. So we have to let that cool down for just a little bit longer before we add the chocolate. Otherwise, the chocolate melts into it. Instead of having chunks of chocolate, you just have like a mixture in it. Not as good as most of it.
All right. So I think I nailed stirring this time.
Definitely. So just mix. It's a little sticky, which is normal.
Well, it's what you want, right?
Exactly. So this, hopefully I did a okay with clear bowl here. That way everyone can actually see what it looks like.
It looks good. And I think too that it's great that you have these options that are so easy, especially for someone like me who is not a guru in the kitchen. Like, I know my things, like I don't really follow recipes. I don't really, I'm not super fancy like she is. But this is easy enough that I can do it. But it's simple. It's simple. You could make it. You can make more. Like, you could double the recipe and just have them in the fridge. I would put them in the fridge just because I like them a little bit. I like them a little bit tougher because I'm just weird.
That is actually where I store these. So the recipe actually tells you that you can store these at room temperature for up to 7 days on the counter. An airtight container, or you can go ahead and put them in the refrigerator and they stay up to 2 weeks, which is what I normally do, even though they don't last 2 weeks.
Yeah. And I think too, when it's easy enough, it makes it less stressful for us.
Yes.
And I mean, I'm not creative when it comes to cooking. This is a very simple recipe that you literally just toss into a bowl and then you make it. And it's not like, oh, you've got to have the exact measurements in there or else it's not going to work. Exactly. So that's what makes this super, super easy.
So we are going to go ahead and let this cool for at least another 10 minutes before we go ahead and add the chocolate so it doesn't melt into it. And we will be right back.
We're back! It's finally cooled down.
Yeah, so one of the things that the recipe calls for is chopped dark chocolate. However, well, I'm lazy and I didn't want to chop it, so I just got dark chocolate chips. And it calls for 2.6 ounces, so I just rounded up to 3 ounces.
Because why not?
Exactly. I'm like, it's good.
We like to use, well, I like to use a brand called Lily's.
Yes.
I believe it's called Lily's, but the one that she's using actually is great too. It's from, where's the thing? Enjoy Life, because they have a lot of options for like gluten-free, like all that kind of stuff. Like for all the allergens, the top however many allergens that would come up for allergies, for lack of a better explanation. But that's actually a really good brand that we like to use. So use those ones.
Exactly. So this one, it depends on how thin you like to go ahead and have your bars. I like them to be a little bit thicker, and then I will cut them depending. Actually, you'll see some of them.
They're like bites.
Exactly. So you put parchment paper down so it doesn't stick to the bowl or the pan, whichever one you end up using. So we're gonna put all that in there. And then I do like to go ahead and you can keep them in the refrigerator for about an hour before you cut them. I like to be able to put them in the freezer for about 10 minutes or so. It gets it hard enough for me to be able to cut them individually like I like, and then we'll be good with that. So sorry about that, was really loud. So instead of using my hands, I use the bottom of one of my glasses, as my son calls it. He says this is a juice glass. I was like, sure, bud.
We do that for adult juice too.
Exactly. So all I do is just kind of squish it down, and it goes pretty easy for the most part.
Yeah, I don't know if you can see this, but she mashed it down, what, like 10 times? But look how flat that is already.
Yeah, so that's why, I mean, it's still...
It is easy.
Yeah, it's really easy, and so you're just packing it down so that when you actually start cutting it, it will go ahead and stay together while you're eating it later on. And otherwise, this thing is just going to absolutely fall apart. So that's why it says to go ahead and smush it down a little bit. One of the mistakes that I made making this before, I didn't wait for it to cool off enough, and it kind of melted. So whenever I went to go and do this, the chocolate kept melting and sticking to the bottom of the glass. So the whole top of it just had like this brown mush on top. And the bottom looked fantastic. So that was the part that I was like, this is what I'm eating, not the other side.
It
So no one
good.
saw. Yeah, it tasted amazing.
That's what I say about all my creations. At least it tastes good.
Yes.
They don't look very pretty, but...
I actually made these for one of the physicians that I work for. He is very picky when it comes to eating bars, but he loves eating granola bars. So I actually made these for his birthday instead of eating cake, because he doesn't have a gluten allergy, but he doesn't eat gluten. So I went ahead and made these for him, and apparently his whole family liked it. And his wife ended up calling and asking for the recipe.
That's good.
So this is the reason why I don't use my hand. It gets all messy. So now we're going to be right back again, because I'm going to put this in the freezer for about 10 minutes so that we can cut them and you can actually see what they look like as a finished product. So
that's my favorite part.
Back again. So now that it's been in the freezer for a little while, we can now take it out. Let you take that. So now it should be pretty good together.
It looks amazing. I'm getting this part because that one has all the chocolate chips in it.
So you can either, it just depends on how you want them. I like to try to have them in bars, because to me, I just like it better that way. So I will cut all of them kind of down real quick, and then I'll cut them all in half. I do cut the kids in 3s just because they won't eat as much as us adults, and I usually take this for breakfast, and so does my husband.
Unless it's my child, because my child happens to eat adult portions all the time. He definitely got my appetite, that's for sure.
That actually, she is not lying on that. I have never seen a kid eat so much before.
He eats so much.
So, these I'm just literally gonna cut in half because these are going to be ours. And it is
Look at that.
awesome
They look
for
so
breakfast. So that is literally it.
They look way better than the ones at the store. I'm
like,
just saying.
And then it kind of helps with all the little pieces that you
I
fall
know.
off.
Look at that.
It's pretty good, dude.
Oh.
See,
It's all right.
he loves them.
And I can say that he is picky.
Yeah, because there's a lot of stuff he won't eat, which is absolutely ridiculous with everything that I cook. And he's over there making a mess already on the floor.
It's okay.
It's great.
I'm taking this piece.
So we'll flash the recipe up on the screen so you can do a screenshot if you want. If not, we also have it down in the description below. With that being said, it's time for us to go because I want a snack and I can't really talk with my mouth full while we're doing some video. So make sure to hit that subscribe button and we'll see you next time.